So I want you to think back to the last time that someone told you to think positively about money. Maybe it was a line in a book, maybe listening to a podcast or a program that you had joined. And whoever told you to do it meant well, genuinely. They said maybe visualize abundance, write down what you want to feel around money. Repeat those affirmations, write it on your mirror, embody the energy of the version of you that already has more. And I want to ask you something. Did it work? Maybe did it work for a day, a week, perhaps a few months, but permanently? Did it actually change the way that you experience money in your body when money comes up? If you keep returning to the same patterns, avoiding money, the same heaviness, despite years of mindset work, all the things, I want this video to be around why. Why is it that things can work for a little while and then they stop? Or why is it that we are told to visualize and then it doesn't really work, and what to do instead? I'm Catherine Morgan. If you are new to my YouTube channel or my podcast, then a huge welcome. Having spent many, many years in financial services as a qualified financial advisor, before I started to even work around the somatics of money and the emotion of money, what I kind of really recognized is that you can know everything there is to know about money, and you can know everything there is to know about abundance and manifestation, and still get stuck in patterns. And this is episode 4 of the Body of Wealth. This is my 6-part mini series. So if you've been following me so far in this series, thank you. If you haven't had an opportunity to listen to some of the previous episodes, then please do head over to episode 1 and 2, where we explored why your body's always responding to money. And we talked about the 4 emotions that block every money decision. And we also dived into the previous episode, looking at emotional freedom technique as a toolkit that you may want to go and explore to acknowledge what is present in your body and start to actually shift some of those emotions that sit behind our relationship with money. And today I'm going to show you why this kind of leap from where you might be currently in your relationship with money to this place where a lot of us seem to want to get to, right? This place of self-actualization, this place of abundance, this place of manifestation, and what this kind of missing piece is in the middle. Now, if you know me and you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that I love to geek out on the science. I love to understand research behind some of these conversations that we're having. And this particular study that I'm going to reference today is a psychological research, and it was done by the University of Waterloo. And what was really interesting is they found that positive self-statements or affirmations can actually make people feel worse, not better, and particularly people with low self-esteem. And let's face it, you'll probably listen to this because you want to feel better with money. And what the research showed is because we have this gap between where you might be right now and what the affirmation is actually suggesting, what happens is that your brain experiences it as a complete contradiction, as a lie. And this is exactly what I have also observed in financial coaching for many, many years. When somebody is sitting in a place of genuine fear around money, their body may be reacting to that in some way. Their heart might be racing, that kind of feeling in the pit of the stomach, or holding of the breath, even just in the way that they talk about money. And we talked a little bit about this in episode 2 of this series. And then they're trying to repeat these affirmations that they may have seen on social media that says things like, money flows to me easily and freely. And what happens is that their body doesn't actually receive that message. It actually does the opposite. It rejects it because it knows where it currently is. And your body is extraordinarily wise. And it can't be lied to. Your body holds the score. And so if you think about your relationship with money, every time we think about money, we have a thought that's attached to it. And that thought has an emotional response. And if we don't acknowledge that emotional response, then the body's still going to hold on to it and still going to present that to you. Well, this makes sense, doesn't it? When I teach this kind of work in our financial coach certification, we talk about this as emotions being on a scale. And I want you to imagine like a vertical line, right? A vertical scale. And all emotions sit on a scale and they move in sequence. So if you're in a place of feeling shame or fear or guilt, you cannot jump immediately from that place to the top with abundance and joy and gratitude and stay there. It's not a single leap. We can't go from fear to joy without passing through the emotions that sit in between. So think of it this way. If you've been sitting in a really dark room for a really long time and then suddenly someone switches on the lights, you don't suddenly experience relief. You might experience a bit of discomfort, maybe some pain. Your eyes haven't had time to adjust. And so that emotional scale works in exactly the same way. And so your body needs to like reattune or transition in order for the body to feel like what you're actually leading it towards is true. And it will start to look for evidence to support this feeling and this belief. And there is one particular state of being, one very specific emotional space that sits between where most people are stuck and where they want to be. And this state is a state that the entire personal development industry tends to skip over. Can you guess what that state is? It's acceptance. Acceptance is one of the most misunderstood words in emotional work. And by acceptance, we don't mean giving up, not saying, oh, this is fine, not a kind of resignation or a passivity around it, or pretending that everything is okay when it actually isn't. Acceptance is an act of meeting yourself exactly where you are in that moment without needing it to be any different. Now that's interesting, isn't it? Because what would happen if you were to suddenly accept your current relationship with money? Why is it that you are feeling the feelings? Why is it that you are experiencing what your lived experience is right now around money? And for me, acceptance brings a lot of honesty, a lot of deep love and compassion for yourself. And we're not fighting it. We're sitting alongside it. And when you're in acceptance, you're not saying, I'm always going to stay here. In fact, what you're really saying is that I can see where I am right now. I can hold this for myself. And from this place, I have a grounding to stand on. And I want you just to take a second just to think about this. What would happen for you right now if you were to sit in a place of acceptance rather than resistance? And I'll give you a short example here of somebody I worked with very recently. Let's just call her Sophie. And she was a very successful business owner. She actually ran a VA agency in her late 30s, doing really well from an external perspective in terms of her financial success. But she had this recurring pattern of financial contraction. Every time her income went above a certain level, she would then go into patterns of overspending, or suddenly something unexpected would arise and she'd find herself exactly back where she started. And we had done some work already together. We'd named the pattern that she was experiencing. We'd traced back its origins. We'd seen that her parents had these financial peaks and then crashes throughout her childhood. And so her body had learned to basically replicate what was familiar. And we used emotional freedom technique. We did some tapping to acknowledge the fear and clear that energetically from her body. And intellectually, she knew, like she totally understood all of it. But every time we got into this place of future visualization, of inviting her to feel optimistic or to visualize where she wanted to go, she really struggled. And there was a part of her that just couldn't quite get there. So in one session, instead of moving her into this vision of the future that she was holding for herself, I simply just asked her to pause and acknowledge exactly where she was in that moment. Not to try and fix it, not to try and come up with some strategies or suggestions to improve it, but just to say, this is where I am. And this is where I can be with this, alongside this. And suddenly she experienced such tremendous relief. It was like, like I've been trying so hard to not be where I am, and it's exhausting. And from that very moment of acceptance, something really opened up inside her, and she stopped blocking it. And this is what happens when we suppress or we bypass an emotion rather than acknowledging it. The body allows itself to enter a state of incoherence. The heart rhythm becomes, erratic. Our stress responses rise. But when we allow an emotion to be held and to be present with it, alongside it, rather than pushing it away, the heart rhythm begins to shift towards coherence. And coherence is a physiological state where the mind becomes clearer, we can make genuine decisions from a much better place, feeling more regulated, our nervous systems are regulated, and then movement forward becomes possible. So acceptance isn't passive. And it also doesn't arrive through thinking from here. We cannot think our way into acceptance. It's about arriving there through the body. And the practice that I use for this is embodied heart breathing. And embodied heart breathing is rooted in heart rhythm coherence. It's very, very simple. And when it's practiced alongside money emotions, it does something really, really profound. And it teaches your body that the feeling that you are experiencing right now can be present and you can still be safe. So I'm going to guide you through this little heart breathing practice right now. If you're listening to this while you're driving, please don't close your eyes. You can actually do this with eyes open. And often I find myself doing this when I'm sat at the traffic lights or I'm feeling stressed. And it's a really, really simple practice. If you're walking the dog right now, just follow along. And I'm going to invite you to just bring to mind one money emotion without going into the story or the actual experience itself. Just bring to mind one emotion that comes up regularly. And the feeling that comes up most often when you think about money, it might be like scared that you're not going to have enough money. It might be this heavy grief feeling that we talked about in the last episode. It might be guilt of overspending patterns. Whatever it is, just notice it for a moment. And from this place of curiosity, you can simply just place your left hand over your heart space, over your chest space. The left hand because it's the closest hand or arm to our heart line. And just bring your attention into the heart space and just notice your breath. And as you breathe, imagine that breath is moving through the heart, not through your nose or your mouth, but through the heart. And breathe in through the heart space for a slow count of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And breathe out through the heart space for a slow count to 6. So you're going in for 6 slowly. And out again through the heart space for 6. And as you continue breathing, just gently hold the emotion that you've identified. The fear, the grief, the worry. Not trying to change it, just trying to breathe alongside it. And notice what it's like to breathe with the feeling instead of against it. You might notice the feeling just softens slightly. It may stay exactly where it is, and that's completely fine. You might also notice a small sense of spaciousness or a little pocket of air that's kind of getting in the edges of that feeling. And that is the beginning of acceptance arriving. And just take one more breath in through the heart and out through the heart, and just let it go naturally. Beautiful. And what's interesting about this exercise is we're not trying to solve anything, and that's exactly the point. What we've just done in that very brief demonstration here is just connecting deeply into this place, this nervous system. Your heart has its own nervous system. 40,000 neurons, has its own nervous system. And what we're doing here is something that most of us never do with a money emotion. We're staying with it. We're not telling yourself that this feeling is wrong or that you need to push it away or that it's too much. We're just sitting alongside it. We're breathing with it. And that simple somatic practice of staying with a feeling in your body is how your body learns that you can hold what's there, that it can be present, and that you are safe, even with this feeling. Right? It's a sitting alongside of the feeling. And that is the ground that every lasting change is built from. And when I did this with Sophie in her coaching session, when she found this acceptance in that session, we didn't rush her into this place of forward visualization or manifestations or affirmations. I simply just asked her, what becomes possible when you stop trying to be somewhere that you're not? And I remember her saying to me, I think I could actually go and look at my numbers. Not because they're going to be perfect, but because I can handle what I can see. And that's the shift, not from fear to joy in one gigantic leap, but from fear to I can be with this. And from this I can be with this whole new neuro pathways started to open up for her. And this is why every single framework I teach, every clearing practice, every piece of deep work inside our programs, it all starts from this foundation. Acceptance isn't the destination, but it is the place that allows us to become steady enough to leave from. And if we were to go from acceptance up into those higher emotional frequencies, such as joy and gratitude and love and compassion, then what would be possible? And so if today landed for you, even if just a small part of you thought, well, I'd love to go deeper on this, I want to just quickly tell you about something that I'm hosting on the 14th of May. It's called The Great Release, and it's a free live event. And in The Great Release, we're going to work with a complete somatic toolkit, and give you a taste of some of what we've been experiencing across this series. We're going to go deeper into the emotional pathways, and we'll be working together live. I'm also going to be diving into some practical frameworks and how you can move forward using AI tools and other money mapping systems to start to create a positive relationship with money and for it to remain and stay. And so if you've been carrying money emotions that feel too big to hold alone, this is the room that you want to be in. And you can register at themoneypanel.co.uk/great-release, or drop the words great release in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube, and I'll send you the link directly. It's completely free. It's live, and we're going to go deep. If you're watching this after the 14th of May, then you may also want to come and check out our Body of Wealth, which is a 3-hour recorded experience. I'll pop this in the description below, or you can visit themoneypanel.co.uk/body of wealth. So next week, we're going to dive into taking everything that you've discovered about yourself and bring it into the room with someone else. Because where it gets interesting is where you and your partner don't just have different spending habits or relationship with money, but you have different body responses to money, different protection patterns, different emotional scales. And if they're colliding for you and you want to learn how to move this from individual practices into opening up those relationship with money conversations with your partner, business partners, or family members or friends, then the next video and episode is going to show you exactly why and what to do about it. So if this episode landed, please share it with someone who needs it. Give it a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. This really helps us to get this work out to more people, and subscribe so that you don't miss episode number 5. I'm Catherine Morgan, and I will see you on the show next Monday. Take care, guys.